Fellas, the government of Kilifi County in Kenya has stopped a food giving program by Indians to children of Kenya. Okay, basically, they say that the children are receiving food in one condition that is not acceptable. The county government officially suspended the Krishna Foundation school feeding program in Gaze sub-county. The decision came after concerns were raised that students were being asked to recite Hindu prayers before receiving meals. This is in Africa. What's happening, everybody? I hope you're doing good. It's a beautiful day. Thank you very much for stopping by. Before we start, can I ask you to do this? Let's all do this, please. Is it done? It costs you nothing. We feel appreciated. Thank you very much. We're here. This is Kenya. Lovely country, beautiful place. Lovely place to be. If you've never been, I suggest you go have a look. Very interesting. But what's happening with the Kenyans right now, it's very, very intricate. And I think we need to dive into it so we can understand. The government of Kilifi County has officially suspended the Krishna Foundation school feeding. Why? Because the Krishna Foundation, which is clearly Indians, has been asking for African children to recite prayers to Krishna before receiving food. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Now, there are many questions to be asked. Do they have the rights to do that? Well, if the foundation is about Krishna, I think they would probably try slipping something Krishna in there. No doubt about that. Well, first we need to understand, how are the Indians in Kenya? How did the Indians arrive in Kenya? Well, Indians in Kenya, Indians live in Kenya. There are many Indian Kenyans, or Kenyan Indians if you prefer. How did they get there? Well, many years ago, when white people came to Africa to colonize, the British took many countries, including Kenya, Uganda, South Africa, and many other countries. Now, in Kenya, something very interesting was happening at the time. They needed to build the railroad coming from here, Mombasa, all the way to Kampala. Kampala is in Uganda. Mombasa is at the coast of Kenya. Well, why did they need the railroad? Clearly because they wanted to loot and steal the continent. You need a way to bring the things out as fast as possible. Now, they brought the Indians to come and build the railroad. And your question is, why wouldn't they use the Africans to build the railroad? That's a good question. Did they think Africans were stupid? Maybe not good enough? They went to find Indians to come and build the railroad. It was very difficult. At some point, there was lions, the Tsavo lions that ate a lot of people. I mean, you're going into the jungle, you're trying to build a railroad, you're going to find things. Anyway, fast forward. When colonialism ended, many Indians returned, some didn't. Some stayed in both Uganda and Kenya, created their own communities. Now, Indians are very prominent in these countries, both Uganda and Kenya. I believe in Uganda, they have a tribe called Baindi, or the other way around, not sure. But they're very influential, sit in power. They have very big businesses where Kenyans and Ugandans work for them. Now, the particularity here is very simple. The Indians rarely mix and mingle with black people in both these countries. Not very much. They have their own communities, their own gatherings, their own parties, their own everything. Okay? You will rarely see an Indian person marry a black person. Rarely. It may happen here and there, but it's not common. Even though they all call themselves Kenyan. We focus on Kenya right here. Now, there's a school, many schools, about 17 schools were relying on opportunities because they were going through a very difficult time. The schools involved in Krishna Foundation feeding program were located in Ganze sub-county, in Kilifi County, a region known to be drought-stricken and economically disadvantaged. So we're talking about poor people here. Okay, the feeding initiative was specially aimed at supporting vulnerable children in 17 schools.
As parents, we were called. They went to explain the rules for this food. While they were explaining it to us, they told us that there was a prayer that had to be said, but we, the parents, refused because we didn't know the meaning of this prayer.
Now, this is what it is, fellas. If you don't look after your house, somebody's going to do it for you. And you might not like what they do, what they suggest your household people to do before they get the help. Let me repeat myself. If you don't make sure your house is good in terms of finances or any other thing, somebody else will do it on your behalf. Unfortunately, because human needs things. Now, these are very poor schools, very poor region, very poor situations. And somebody comes and says, I'm going to give you food. Look, not every African school get food before they get... No. These boys in some places barely have 2 meals a day, let alone one. Now you're going to school, you can find food, they just ask you to say a bunch of words. Who's gonna say no? Do you think those children are within the age frame of saying no? Look, Krishna or any other religion is not the problem. The problem is consent. Why do you make them say things they didn't consent to? Did they say, yes, we want to do this? Or are the parents involved because these children clearly, don't know what to say? That's why they're at school, because they don't know what they want in life. Did they consent to that? You know what I'm saying? Now, that is perhaps religion. What else comes with religion? Well, there's many things. So before you get the food, they have to do a prayer. Listen to this teacher telling them what to say.
The Krishna prayer that I explained to you, that's what we're going to do here. But the teacher will translate it into English. This is also here. Let's start with the prayer. We start with the prayer and then we eat.
The teacher's basically saying to them, don't worry, it's just a bunch of words, eat. But it's not just that. Because it was just a bunch of words, the government of Kenya wouldn't stop that. That is a level of abuse to it. That's abuse. That's taking advantage of somebody's poverty and difficulties. It's like you see somebody in the street, female, I think I saw that myself, a female begging in the street and people soliciting her to go do things because she's begging. Like, I can pay you more money if you do other things, which is not something everybody will talk about. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. Asking, well, why do they have to say your prayer before? I mean, you said you just want to help. Now, why you want to make them say your prayer? Now, on the other side, because I don't just go one way, you know me, I always batter both sides so we can understand. Why do you have children that are poor in a rich country such as Kenya? Why isn't there funds and possibility allocated so such thing? Because this is shameful. It is shameful that a bunch of kids in Africa need to do prayers that they've never heard about so they can get some bread.
So, I'm instructing the Ministry of Education to sit down with the Ministry of Finance. When I try to ask them what is the issue, they told me that because our financial year is June to June, and the education here is January to December, there is a bit of a disconnect. So we need to align.
It's very saddening. Well, in the meantime, the government of Kenya just allocated $179,000 monthly. They're paying to a dude somewhere in America to lobby for Kenya. What does lobby mean? It's basically speaking nicely to Donald Trump about Kenya so that Trump, look at Kenya with good lens. That's it. $179,000 a month. One person has received, one company. In the meantime, there are many Kenyan doctors that have no adequate salaries. In the meantime, there are many people in Kenya that are striking for a piece of bread. In the meantime, many people of Kenya need to go to Saudi Arabia. Okay, look at Kenya, look at Saudi Arabia. You have to traverse all the way to Saudi Arabia to get a piece of bread. That is shameful. And Kenya has done negotiation with Saudi Arabia. So what these people go do in Saudi Arabia? It's basically women that go work as maid. Imagine. African women leaving the African nest, traveling all the way, sometimes illegally to Saudi Arabia, sometimes abusively to Saudi Arabia so they can get a job as a maid. So cleaning and washing and you know what I'm saying? The whole day for 18 hours sometimes. Sometimes they are sexually abused by the boss and some of them are married. But the Kenyan people had time to negotiate with Saudi Arabia on what's the minimal amount they need to pay these people. It's crazy. Imagine that money they give the American to lobby for. Just take a little bit. How about just $500? I'm sure $500 will feed these kids. You don't think $500 in Africa will feed a school of kids? It will definitely feed this. Why do you fund your... I don't know. This is sad. Let me know how you feel about this. Unfortunately, racism between Indians and Kenyans, some Indians are Kenyans, but racism between Indians and black people in Kenya is prominent. It's a reality. We even heard of stories where there are apartment blocks that are exclusively Indians. There are things that are exclusively Indians. In Kenya. Why? Because you're not good enough. And also because your government doesn't necessarily support you. I'll tell you something before I close. Many Africans, when they go to embassies looking for visas to Europe or America, they don't necessarily speak to a European or an American. On the other hand, usually the interviewer in many cases is actually an African. Yeah. So the African's job is to scrutinize you, make sure you don't lie, because They know all your tricks. If there are tricks, they will ask you questions. How come this is not here? Where is your bank account? Where do you work? Where is your fingerprint? They will make it very difficult for you. Africans at the embassy will make it more difficult than Americans, more difficult than white Europeans. I've faced that myself, where an African made it difficult for me until the ambassador came and said, listen, I'm waiting for you, for this guy. Are you still interviewing him? Can I see his passport? I gave him the passport. He looked at the passport. He saw 37 visas. He said, but this guy is a bona fide. He's been here many times. Why are you wasting my time? I need to go. It's the weekend. Give him his visa. Now, what you will find is what? When a black man works for a foreign person, it becomes harder and more difficult to the other black man than the foreign person. God bless.